The Watford Fan Show, Andy Lewis from the Hornets Nest and Jacob Coulshaw from WD18 Watford Fan Channel in the studio with me this evening. We're talking about West Ham. You were both there yesterday, and I heard you both talking about the atmosphere in different sections of the stand. Still not improving that stadium?
No, it's frustrating because I was there I was lucky enough to be there for the Olympics and watch some athletics, and it's facility-wise, it's an incredible stadium. You know, it's incredibly modern. It's comfortable seating, lots of legroom. It's a fantastic facility, but as a football stadium, it's rubbish. It's just not. It's not a football stadium. And we had a West Ham fan on last week to help preview the game. I actually always leave that stadium, London Stadium, feeling a little bit sorry for the West Ham fans, because when we'd go to Upton Park, I used to love going to Upton Park. Obviously I'm a Watford fan, but proper intimidating atmosphere. If you get a point or a win away at Upton Park, you've done well, because it's intimidating. It was a proper football ground, a good place to go and play football. And now the London Stadium is just, you were in the upper tier, Jacob. I could hear the upper tier singing, and because the upper tier is so far away from the lower tier, it's just the away end is just split, and there's no sort of harmony between the upper and the lower tier, and it's sort of like it's almost just like two completely different sets of supporters, and you feel so far away from the action that you can't really get involved. I don't know what your view was like, but you feel a million miles away.
A couple of things. I think number one, just touching on the stadium, the pitch is too big for West Ham. I think it's improved since Pellegrini's come in, because they play a more expansive brand of football. Yeah. But it's too big for them, and that's why Man City, when they went to the London Stadium, they absolutely battered them, because they have the quality to pick them apart. Number two, in terms of the atmosphere, as Andy said, it's very, very poor. In terms of the kind of, even with the West Ham fans, you've got kind of like the Green Street hooligans next to the away fans. Then you've got another patch over there, and you've got another patch over there, and you've got another patch behind the goal that's standing up, and then it's a really odd feel. It doesn't feel like a football stadium at all, and I think that definitely that gap between the lower and the upper tier just isn't right.
It just makes me appreciate Vicarage Road that little bit more, because we've got a ground with a lot of history and a lot of soul, and I do feel for the West Ham fans, because a lot of them didn't want that move. A lot of them didn't want it, and to go from something so iconic such as Upton Park to then, okay, iconic looking, but not a football stadium. It's just,
imagine if they'd gone down last year.
I know.
Would have done a Coventry. I really do think that.
And there's one more note on the stadium before we kind of look ahead to your next games. Is I find it slightly humorous of the Spurs fans mocking the West Ham fans, saying, "Look, this is how a stadium should look." So obviously, it does look magnificent, the new Spurs stadium, but forgetting that they also went for that stadium as well. They went up against West Ham to get that stadium. It's just that West Ham so massively undercut them price-wise, that they got it. And Spurs nearly had that stadium, and they were looking so chuffed with themselves that they've got this amazing one. I was like, well, that could have been you.
And I was saying to my dad just yesterday, Leyton Orient were going for it as well. Imagine if they had bought that stadium. They filled out like a little corner of it.
They wanted a ground share, didn't they? Best supported side in the National League, Leyton Orient, get about 6,000 every single week and flying high.
Save that for your non-league show, Joe.
9 till 10 p.m. Non-league won 3-1 against Chesterfield this weekend.
Go on the Orient. Joby McAnuff is at Leyton Orient, isn't he?
He is their captain.
I know one good Leyton Orient player, Macaulay Bonne.
I was going to say, if you're looking for a striker, Watford, he's been linked with a whole host. He's been linked with loads of Premier League clubs, Macaulay Bonne.
I love that you didn't say Joby McAnuff, because I still don't forgive him for his miss against Chelsea back in like 2009 when Priskin scored, and then it was like 2-1 to Chelsea. Yeah, that was the chip over check. Yeah, my dad's still got a scar from that goal, celebrating that goal. There's Priskin's scar. So yeah, good times.
If you're looking for a little non-league gem to bring into a Premier League side, they've got both strikers, Josh Koroma and Macaulay Bonne. I wouldn't be surprised if a Championship or Premier League club snaps them up. Could be Watford.
Could be Watford.
But yeah, let's look ahead to your next games then. Boxing Day at Chelsea.
That is a tasty
Leicester
picture.
have softened them up for you. We did a number on them yesterday.
Well, I tell you what,
comfortable 1-0 win at the Bridge. First win in 18 years.
What was quite noticeable was I listened to Rudiger's interview afterwards, and he was absolutely fuming. He was like, if we can't beat, he said, no disrespect to teams like Leicester.
He was being disrespectful.
Yeah, I thought it was. Yeah, pretty. But he's got a point. If you can't beat Leicester at home and you can't beat Watford away, then you're not going to be title challengers. So it'll be interesting come Boxing Day if we can do a similar thing to last year. If it's anything a fraction of that, then we're in for a treat, because that was an unbelievable night.
I think the results yesterday, our win and Chelsea's defeat, just piles all the pressure on Chelsea now, and I think that's what we should be going into that game, because if Chelsea, even if they get a draw, they're probably out of the title race. Compared to Liverpool.
I think they're out of it. They're already 11 points behind. Yeah,
11. Oh, is it 11 now? Oh, right. Blimey,
I mean, really, I say obviously Liverpool are 4 points clear. Crazy. Please, don't let Liverpool win the Premier League. Not because I dislike Liverpool. I just couldn't cope with Liverpool fans if they won.
Yeah, you wouldn't hear the end of it.
You've got the exact same attitude as my flatmate, who's a Chelsea fan.
I don't dislike, and I really enjoy watching them.
Yeah,
but I just don't think I could cope.
No.
I don't think the football world could cope.
Twitter couldn't cope. Football Twitter couldn't cope.
It just, if you thought like the state, like the parades and the fanfare when Leicester won the Premier League were big and over the top, just imagine.
I didn't mind that.
Yeah, well, I'd say, but imagine if Liverpool done it. The whole of the city, the whole country would just stop. I couldn't do it. But yeah, they're 4 points clear. Chelsea on 37 points and fourth, Arsenal on 37, and Manchester United on 29. So it's really those five, isn't it? And realistically, the way that Chelsea started well, but they have tailed off a little bit, and they do look vulnerable. And Watford have played particularly well against the so-called better sides, haven't they? That no fear factor.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. What I noticed from just the highlights, obviously I couldn't watch the Leicester game yesterday, was just the space in behind. I mean, Maddison, one ball, it was a great ball for Maddison, but one ball in behind and Vardy's in. I mean, he was looking like he was going to do that all game as well. It's a tough one. Would I make any changes for the Chelsea game? I don't think you can. Maybe the one that you could is taking Ken Sema out. Now, I thought Ken had put in a big shift yesterday. He worked his socks off, and you can never fault his effort from the games I've seen him play, but he just lacks a little bit of quality, and he's only got 1 foot. I mean, when I mean 1 foot, he has only got 1 foot. He doesn't have a right foot. It's only for standing on. So if there was going to be one change, I'd probably put Delafeu back onto the right, who I thought actually struggled up front. Obviously a brilliant finish at the end. Delafeu on the right, Success up front, because Success, even just to link up play for that second goal, he held the ball up, laid it off Tolobas, and that was a classy goal, wasn't it, Andy?
Yeah, we've spoken about that before, haven't we? Delafeu not being an out-and-out striker, and I think he's, although we're in 7th, I think he's still trying to work out who that, if he wants to play 2 up front, who that best 2 is. Because we've flicked around all the combinations: Deeney Gray, Deeney Success, Deeney Delafeu, and it's not quite clicked in any of them. But we're still scoring goals here and there. So it's tricky. I think Success should come back in. Because I just think if we get in Chelsea's faces, rough them up a bit, and I don't think Delafeu is a player to do that. And like we've seen in the past, players coming on and being that impact sub against a team like Chelsea, I think Delafeu could provide us that spark if we're maybe 1-0 down, 1-1 with 20 minutes to go. Delafeu can come on and just run at them, but I think we need to be physical with Chelsea and go at them.
I'll tell you one thing I would kind of tell Delafeu is just to play a bit of a more free roam role behind the striker, because you saw with that second goal he drifted out wide to link up with Pereira. We didn't see that throughout the 90 minutes. He kept sticking in his centre forward role. He didn't drift around. There was no sort of movement. And another thing I noticed from yesterday is our strikers don't move until the ball is hit. We don't make runs before. We don't have the anticipation to make the run, and unless the ball is hit, then we make the run. That's frustrating. With Delafeu's pace, I heard how many West Ham fans saying Watford have so much pace, they're so physical, but we use it in the midfield, we don't use it up front, and that's probably something that does frustrate me quite a lot with Watford, because we do have the physicality up front, especially with Troy. I just don't think he used it as enough as he could.
After Chelsea, it's Newcastle. You'd suggest a more winnable game? It's a quick turnaround, isn't it, from only playing them the other week?
Yeah, but that's why we love December, because it's football everywhere you look, isn't it? Suddenly it's Boxing Day and then a couple of sleeps. Oh, it's Newcastle at home. Brilliant.
That's nice though, isn't it, over the Christmas period to have two home games?
I know, we are lucky. I was saying that to my dad as well the other week. How many Boxing Days have we been away from home? Not in the Premier League.
You were at home last year.
Yeah.
You played Leicester. And that was the first time in 6 years that Leicester had been away from home.
We were lucky that day.
I can't remember what the score was.
Molawage scored.
Oh, that was
what was the score?
Icon.
2-1
Watford.
Yeah. What was it? I can't remember.
Yeah, no, you're right. We haven't been away on Boxing Day in the since we got promoted again.
That's strange though, because you know obviously how it works with the Boxing Day fixtures. That the idea is that you don't have to travel too far, so it is kind of done a little bit deliberately. So the likes of Leicester always tend to find themselves at home, and if you're like a Newcastle, you'll be playing probably one of the Manchester clubs. And for a Watford to be in the London area to always kind of get the same fixtures is a bit strange, because you would have thought it'd be no issue of sending Watford away to plenty of other home games in and around London. So you've got lucky to take it.
We're not complaining, are we? No.
You know, it's 26th, 29th, Newcastle, Chelsea. It's 3...
Bournemouth away as well on the 2nd.
Yeah, and then obviously moving forward to New Year's Day, the day after New Year's Day, against Bournemouth. I mean, that Newcastle game, you've got the number on them, haven't you?
Well, we've got to get a bit of revenge for our defeat earlier in the season, a game that we should have won. You know, I obviously came in the day after. It was a game that we were saying we didn't take our chances. And how many times have you heard me say that this season? So we've got to be looking at that game, thinking if now we're 7th, now we're in the sort of the definitely top half. We need to be aiming at least for a top half finish this season, and that is now a game that we have to look at and say 3 points, nothing else will do, I think.
I think Andy's spot on with that, because the amount of times, you cast your mind back to last year, Swansea at home, we lost 2-1, Huddersfield at home, we lost 4-1, and now, no disrespect to Newcastle, but they're kind of teams in and around that area. We are a better side than Newcastle, I like to think that. We should be getting 3 points, that's how I see it anyway. And particularly now, you look at the table, 27 points, 7th in the league. There's a real chance that we can achieve something really good this year, and if we converted some of those games earlier on in the season into wins, we could be looking at a very, very healthy point tally.
Well, it's 13 points till safety, the magic 40-point mark. So that's at least four wins and a draw, 5 wins, and one of those I think has to come against Newcastle, and then we're heading into 2019 and we need 4 wins to guarantee. I think, to be honest, 35 I think this season is enough, so it's probably only about 3-4 wins, but we can't be too cocky. I think we did that in our first season back in under Flores, where we had that fantastic start. We were about heading into, I think it was we headed into Christmas only about sort of 5 points off the Champions League spots, because we won 4 on the bounce, didn't we? Beat Liverpool, and then we just sort of took our foot off the gas in the second half. I don't see that happening with this Watford side. I think Javi's installed that mentality in these players, and I think the players are playing for each other. I think they're playing for the manager, and it's great to see that team spirit. If we go a goal down to Chelsea on Boxing Day, we're not going to give up. Our heads, we've gone down against the big clubs so far this season. We've conceded first in each game, I think. And we've not given up. Our heads haven't dropped. The only game where our heads have dropped is Bournemouth, and we were down to 10 men, and that was just a horrible afternoon. So I think this Watford side just have a great team spirit and connection about them, and that's what's really making me feel really positive heading into sort of the mid-season in 2019. Yeah,
it's a big 3 games for Watford, because of the Chelsea on Boxing Day. Although we like to think we can get something after the Chelsea result, it's going to be difficult. Obviously, we know the quality they have. We don't want to get too cocky and think, we can go and blitz them like last year. It's not going to happen. It's not going to be as easy as that. Well, I don't think it will be anyway. I like it to be. And then obviously Newcastle, and that's a really big game, and because of the way we've been playing recently, you don't want to go into the international break after losing to Newcastle and Bournemouth, especially with the run of fixtures we've got coming up, because they are 2 winnable games. Bournemouth will be tricky as well. I'll probably take a point away at Bournemouth, but Newcastle at home has to be a banker, and it has to be a banker that will win, because we should really be pushing up the table. We're on 27 points, 7th in the league. It's looking good. We just can't let it slip now, as Stephen Giles says.
With it being the last show of 2018, yeah, I know. It's been emotional. There's been highs, there's been lows.
Mainly lows.
Yeah, and that's just the show. That's just the show. But Watford on the pitch, it's been. I mean, if you take the whole year, there's been ups and downs, hasn't there? Should we start with the positives or the negatives? Where do we want to start?
Should we start with negatives?
Yeah,
and then build up to the positives.
Let's get that away. So, of 2018, what has been the lowlights for you as a Watford fan?
I think it was kind of a build-up of all the lowlights, but Leicester away, I think it was the 13th of January.
Yeah.
It was the day when we were absolutely abysmal. Marco Silva was sacked the following day. And actually, you could say it was a highlight, because that's when Javi Gracia came to the helm, and we were all thinking, this could be...
There's a silver lining to it.
Yeah, so it's kind
of... get
it. So you could say it was a low light and a highlight, because on the one hand, I didn't know where the club was going. I thought we were on a losing streak, or we hadn't won in 11. It was going abysmally, and I think Marco Silva, that game kind of brought it all together, and we all thought we are going down this season. But in the Pozzos we trust, and they got Marco Silva out, brought in Javi Gracia, and it's the start of hopefully something really special, because although last season at times he obviously had those big wins against Chelsea, there were positives and negatives. I think this season it's kind of really shown what Javi Gracia has done to this group of players, because it's not too different to the squad we had last year, but he's used the summer, he's built on it, he's brought in the players that he thought would improve the squad, and we're looking like a better unit than we did last year when he came in.
So my low light is actually a highlight of sorts, and it takes place on the 2nd of January this year, and that was Andre Gray's sort of 90th minute consolation goal away at the Etihad in our 3-1 defeat. And it's a low light because that was our last away goal of the season, last season, and we didn't score away from home until we played Burnley in August. So that was about maybe sort of 9-10 away games to the end of the season, where we just saw nothing. Missed a penalty at Arsenal,
slog, isn't it?
5-0 away at Liverpool. I mean, it was horrendous. Travelling away to support Watford, I love doing it. We love doing it. It's part of our lives. But to just go to all these far-flung places and just see us not even score, like, let alone win. We didn't even
just give us a moment. Just
give us a penalty and a 5-0, like 5-1 defeat away from home, and it was a horrible time.
Another candidate for low light was Huddersfield away at the John Smith. Tom Ince popping up in the 93rd minute. You've just made the trip down to Huddersfield.
What's all Huddersfield?
All the players.
There's nothing there, Jake. There is nothing there. And I'll be honest, I've been to better places. No disrespect to any Huddersfield people. But, I mean, for Tom Ince of all men as well, just pop up in the last minute.
Scores
I
against
know,
us.
I just cannot stand the bloke. But, that was a low light as well. What disgusting day.
Right, negatives done?
Negatives done, out of the way.
Right, so let's have some positives, highlights of the year. Quickly, we had a tweet in from Wirral Hornet Steve. Moment of the year was Domingos Quina turning up in the car park with 10 minutes left of the transfer window.
Ooh,
that's a good one.
That is a good one.
That is a great
kind
shout.
of went under the radar, I think, particularly for the neutral. You know, I was aware of him, and we sit here in December, and suddenly it looks like you've got a brilliant player, and it's just the Watford way, isn't it?
Yeah, it is the Watford way, and it was really interesting to hear from Scott Duxbury when he was speaking to head of recruitment, Filippo Giraldi, and he was saying, are you taking the mick? Is he actually available? I mean, this guy's, seems to be the next big thing.
I heard that the likes of like Real Madrid and
Barcelona as well.
Yeah, we're looking at him, but he wanted to stay in England. But I find that strange that those clubs were looking at him, and West Ham would first of all allow him to go, and secondly for so little to Watford, and that no other Premier League clubs were interested.
Well, I know his contract was running out at the end of the season, so obviously they had to get rid of him. But it's amazing that they didn't tie him to a contract and looked ahead and think, you know what, he's that good, we can get big money for him.
But apparently they were huge fans of him. I remember a few years ago, it was like a Soccer AM thing, and they went to the West Ham training ground. They're doing like some kind of drill, funny video, and they had to put forward 2 first-team players, and they put forward Declan Rice and Domingos Quina as the 2 bright talents from the academy, from the reserve side. So they clearly did rate them very highly. It's just it's strange that, I mean, obviously we don't understand or know the full ins and out of the contract, but if they rated him that highly, they would have given him a better contract, or they certainly could have fought probably harder to keep him. It feels like they've let him go kind of very easily, and they'll probably learn to regret it, because you look at West Ham's team, whilst they've got some good players, there was no need to go out and buy the likes of Jack Wilshere and Carlos Sanchez when you had Domingos Quina already at the club.
I think it speaks volumes about Watford that young players, Chalobah, Hughes, Quina, Richarlison want to come to Watford because they know they're going to get game time in the best league in the world. They're going to put their name on the map, and all right, they'll use us as a stepping stone. That's fine, as long as they put the effort in, and they all do.
Yeah.
So it's just great that Watford have got that. For £1 million as well is nothing nowadays.
2 weeks of Alexis Sanchez wages.
I mean, even
2
now,
weeks. 2 weeks.
Even now, the fact he's scored and put in a man of the match display, I thought, away at Everton, his price has gone up massively for what we bought him for, and it was just, I mean, that is a fantastic tweet actually, that Domingos Quina has come out of nowhere.
Yep,
I like that one.
Wirral Hornet Steve, thank you very much for that tweet. So guys, let's have your highlights, please.
So my highlight is a little bit selfish. It's a personal highlight rather than a Watford highlight.
I think I know what it is.
Go on.
Was it your away win?
It was.
Yes.
It was
in the Northwest.
Yes. It was away at Burnley, first away game of the season. Not only did we score an away goal, first since January, it was in the 26 attempts. It was my first win in the Northwest, and not just the win, but the whole day, the whole atmosphere. Watford fans saying congratulations online. Like, I did nothing. I didn't score any of the 3 goals. But just that community aspect of Watford that we all talk about. You know, I got to experience that firsthand, be it online or in the stand, and it was just a fantastic day to just be a Watford fan.
Was there something about the lucky pants with this game, or was it a different story?
So, well, yeah, before this, because last season the luck in the previous lucky boxes had worn off. So my girlfriend bought me some new lucky underwear, and you know, first 4 game of the season, they were astonishing. So I was wearing the new lucky underwear for that game, and that's obviously what broke the curse.
But so Jacob, beat that highlight, mate.
Right, I just put a tweet out. We've got a few rolling in. Okay, so Jake's gone for beating Tottenham. Can't remember feeling as elated as that. Hornet Shane says beating Chelsea at the Vic, Wolves and West Ham away. The re-signing of Foster and the emergence of Capoue. Paul says beating Tottenham. Nick says sacking Marco Silva. And Aaron says beating Chelsea and sacking Marco Silva as well. Javi Gracia FC.
Javi Gracia FC, love it.
I would go for, drumroll please, Chelsea at home 4-1. Reason being, I thought this year's Spurs at home obviously was an incredible day to be a Watford fan, to come from 1 goal behind and beat a Spurs side that have been one of the best in the last couple of years and obviously pushing for the title. Last year, but they won't be doing it this year. But Chelsea at home, I think it was just so unexpected, and we weren't exactly going through a great bit of form. We weren't really expecting it, and just a goal. I mean, the second half was just unbelievable. I mean, when Pereira went through, it was almost written in the stars that he was going to put that away. I remember saying, "That's a shame, Pereira to make it 4," and he actually did. I was in disbelief. I mean, I was in absolute disbelief. So, Chelsea at home, the 4-1, that'll live with me forever. I mean, what a day that was.
I think that Janmaat goal for me has to take moment of the year, because we have great games, but if we narrow it down to a specific moment, I think for me it's that Janmaat, because that was you're gonna hate me for this, but that was on par sound wise with the Deeney goal. Because Vicarage Road, you can hear me, mate. You've got headphones on. Because Vicarage Road just erupted when Janmaat put the ball in the back of the net to put Watford 2-1 up against Chelsea, and that for me is a pure moment of elation where nothing else outside of that football ground mattered, nothing else in life mattered other than going 2-1 up, and that for me is what football is all about.
Okay, let's have Player of the Year. This isn't from this season, that we're going to cross the whole of 2018. Okay,
there's a case to say Ben Foster since he's come in. Yeah, I wouldn't do that. I'd like to pick someone from the start of the year. I would go for Etienne Capoue, and the reason being is he was on the verge of leaving in January. I know West Ham were interested, Fiorentina were interested. There were a few clubs sniffing around him. And Javi Gracia, since he's come in, the transformation of Etienne Capoue is pretty incredible, really. I mean, to go from a player who was on the fringe, kind of came on for a couple of cameo performances, didn't really offer a lot apart from coming off the bench, to what our main player, when you look at the team sheet, is Capoue playing. That is, for a Watford fan now, it is Capoue playing. He's one of the main players in this team now, so I'd say Etienne Capoue, Player of the Year. Another credible shout is Roberto Pereira as well. I think Gracia, since he's put him out on the left, and you can tell with both, it's Gracia who's making the difference. Yeah. Pereira put him out. Javi put Pereira out onto the left, and I remember Burnley at home, Bournemouth at home. They were the kind of start of Pereira's running form, and he's been fantastic for us as well. But I'd go Etienne Capoue.
I'm going to disagree. I'm going to go with Gerard Deulofeu, because I think came in January, and I think he was the catalyst for Watford actually staying in the Premier League last season. First game away at Stoke in Javi's first league game in charge. We got a 0-0 draw, which at the time was a pretty good result. Just sort of stopped the rot. And then Chelsea, he was the one pulling all the strings against Chelsea in that 4-1 victory. Had a little injury before the end of last season, but it was just that spark that he provided us before the end of last season to just help Watford kick on and realise, we can win games. Just give that squad that boost that they needed to stay up. And then this season he's scored some excellent goals. He's contributed. When he's played out wide anyway, he's been the Deulofeu that we've come to love, cutting inside on that magic left foot of his. So Capoue is runner up. But for me, Deulofeu just for that catalyst.
Okay, so Capoue, Pereira and Deulofeu is probably as your top 3. Quickly then, and goal of the year. Now, it's worth mentioning that you've got a lot to pick from, particularly this season. So we mentioned earlier, Match of the Day the other week, doing a montage of all of Watford's brilliant goals this season. My vote, if I get one, is Domingos Quina's one against Cardiff the other week. I think the camera angle helped. It was caught on camera brilliantly from behind, when just as he strikes the ball, you can see him open up his body, and at the moment he strikes, you can't even see the goal, but he bends it around the Cardiff defender and into the far corner. I thought technically that was a superb goal. So that one gets my vote, but let's have yours, please, chaps. I kind of agree with Andy. I think the Janmaat one, in terms of just unexpectedness, I did not expect Daryl Janmaat to walk through the Chelsea back line and put that in the back of the net. In terms of just skill, I know the kind of magnitude of the game isn't that big, but Domingos Quina in the Carabao Cup against Reading, that was an unbelievable bit of skill. On his weaker foot, he shifted it past the midfielder, and just to pretty much put it as much into the top right-hand corner as he could. Yeah. I didn't know he had that in his locker. So in terms of surprise factor, I'd go Janmaat, but in terms of skill, I'd probably go Quina against Reading.
Well, it's frustrating because if is it Matt Ryan, the Brighton goalkeeper, if he didn't get a hand to Pereira's volley for the first goal of the season, it'd be that one. Yeah. But the fact he gets a hand to it just spoils it. So my one's actually a bit of a curveball, and it's Gray versus Burnley earlier this season. 5 minutes in, Deeney drills the ball across the box, and a lovely curved volley from the just inside the box from Gray to stick it past Joe Hart, which obviously kicked off one of the best days I've ever had supporting Watford Football Club. So it just, because we were stood right behind it, we saw a lovely curl in it. Gray's connected with it perfectly, a superb volley. So that's vote for me.
We always talk about our Premier League clubs as we look ahead to the next Premier League games for Watford, but we're not going to have a chance to speak to kind of the Woking side before we get to that game, which is on the 6th of January. It's on a Sunday. It's a huge game for Woking. Have been going brilliantly, not just in the Cup, but also domestically. Andrew, a presenter of Radio Woking, joins us on the phone now. Andrew, good evening.
Good evening.
Andrew, how are you? Very well?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, very well indeed. Andrew, as I was just saying, Woking, I mean, the Cup run, absolutely fantastic. To play in a Premier League club is huge. But in your league as well, it's been an incredible season, hasn't it, so far for Woking?
It really has, yeah. Well, Woking got relegated from the National League last year. They went down to the National League South. Came down as one of the bigger clubs in the league, but people weren't too sure how it was going to go. New manager, lots of new players coming in, not much money flying about early pre-season, didn't know what kind of players we're putting out, but the season's gone absolutely incredible. Currently it's at second in the league, 2 points behind Torquay, who are top, and they've got 2 games on hand of them as well. So yes, the FA Cup run has been brilliant, but the league has also been going fantastically well.
Yeah, beat Billericay 4-0 yesterday. That's a huge win.
It was a brilliant win, yeah. And Max Kretschmar, a danger player for Woking, he scored a fantastic goal, one of the best goals I've seen down at Woking for a long time. A chip over the goalkeeper was fabulous.
Hi there, Andrew. Andy here. What were your initial thoughts when Watford came out of the hat? Because I've read an article from I think he was a fellow Woking fan, where he was actually saying that he was almost a little bit disappointed to get little old Watford instead of one of the big boys. What was your interpretation?
Could have been worse.
Well, it could have been much worse. I mean, completely agree. Woking National League South side. To draw a Premier League side was absolutely fabulous. Yes, of course you want to play Manchester United away, Manchester City away, Liverpool away, but to get a Premier League side coming down to the Laithwaite, I know we play Woking in pre-seasons, but to get Watford in the Premier League down to Woking's home ground, the Laithwaite Community Stadium, it's a fantastic tie, isn't it? Really, you can't be disappointed with the Premier League side.
That is nice to hear. Hi, Andrew. My name's Jacob. I'm just wondering, from a Woking perspective, do you think you can cause an upset against the Hornets?
Yeah, I think there's a bit of optimism around that they actually can cause an upset. Maybe get a draw, take it back to Vicarage Road, or even get a win. Watford, obviously, you guys know more than I do, but the Premier League's a priority this year, as I'm sure it always is. I'm sure Watford will rotate, maybe underestimate Woking a little bit. There is a bit of a feeling that Woking can get a bit of an upset here.
And what are you expecting from Watford? What are Woking fans? Are they expecting a Watford side to sort of an A side, maybe a B side, or a few changes here and there? What are you fans expecting?
Well, being realistic, Woking, they're quite some far away in Watford in terms of league. I think Woking fans are expecting Watford to change their side quite a bit. I don't think you're going to see a full strength side out, especially with the December run. You know, the Premier League, we all know Premier League is very busy in December, so it comes off the back of that. Players are going to need a rest. I don't think Watford are going to put up their full-strength side, which is why I believe there is going to be some optimism around Woking that they can get a result against Watford.
Yeah, and it kind of goes without saying a little bit, Andrew, doesn't it? FA Cup third round, Premier League side, the money that goes along with this for a National League South side is absolutely huge, isn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant, isn't it? I think they got £150,000 beating Swindon, and in the last round, stadium's going to be packed out in the third round, 6,000 plus fans. Yeah, the money side is going to be an absolutely major advantage for Woking, as I say, in the National League. And as I said earlier, they didn't have much money at the start of their season, and now this income, come January, there could be a few new signings coming in as well.
And on TV, Andrew, one of the feature games on the Sunday, on the FA Cup weekend Sunday.
Yeah, TV on BT Sport, and I think live commentary on the radio as well.
And how much credit, Andrew, sorry, do you give to Alan Dowson, the manager? Because as you mentioned, as far as National League South budgets go, Woking's is really not that much. You look at the likes of Billericay and the money they've got, which obviously we've been talking about, but also, Torquay. There's some big football clubs in that division. For Woking to be fighting on all fronts in the FA, is it FA Vase, FA Trophy as well as fighting at the top of the league and to make the third round, there's a real feel-good factor, isn't there, around the football club? And you almost can't blame you for having that little bit of optimism about actually being able to put up a fight against a Premier League team.
Yeah, I lost you slightly there, but I think I got the gist of what you were saying. Yeah, Alan Dowson came in at the start of the season. Anthony Limbrick, the former manager, was sacked at the end of last year. He came in with a completely new set of squad players. He came in, it took a few players from his old squad, but he's built the team up, and he's done so well for such little amount of time. Yeah, I've been really impressed with him. He's never got this far in the competition either, so he's really looking forward to it. He's expecting a tough game, but yeah, you're absolutely right. I've been so impressed with Alan Dowson, the way he's turned it around. Woking, say, getting relegated last year could have been a negative factor. Completely changed that, and now they're pretty second in the league.
Super stuff. Andrew, we wish you all the best and hope you enjoy your day out, but obviously...
No, we don't. This is the Watford fan show.
Obviously, that Watford win and Woking get loads of money. Yeah. Andrew, thank you very much for your time this evening. Guys, we've only got a few minutes left of 2018 on Love Sports Watford fan shows. Or any other business you want to get done before we go this evening? Yeah,
I think we just need to give a huge congratulations to the guys at the From the Rookery End podcast, because recently they attended the Football Supporters Federation Awards, and they came away with Club Podcast of the Year for 2018. The guys, Jason, Mike and John all set it up, and now it's a team of loads of others. What they've done over the past sort of 5-6 years has been incredible, and they've offered advice to myself and Jacob when we started up our channels as well, and just couldn't think of a more deserving bunch of guys to win this award, and it's absolutely we were over the moon for them. I think rest of Watford fans are really appreciative of the work and the interviews that they've done in the past as well, so huge congratulations to the guys From the Rookery End, and also John Mooney, who produces From the Rookery End, also produces the Hornet Heaven podcast, created by Ollie Wicken, read by Colin Mace, and we all thought that the last series was their final series, Residents of Hornet Heaven just faded away, but actually they're back for a Christmas series, and it's out now on iTunes, Google Podcasts and Spotify. So Watford fans, if your in-laws are annoying you, if your family are annoying you at Christmas lunch, just plug your headphones in and listen to an episode of Hornet Heaven on Christmas Day. Alright, super stuff. So guys, hopes for 2019, not personal, football wise.
Well, I've put in bold, push for Europe. It's pretty bold, but there's a real possibility. I mean, 2019, it sounds a bit cringe, but there's no limits to what we can achieve, especially with the position we are in now at the moment. So 2019, give it Europe a real go, but top half is a must. Yep, I agree with that. Top half, anything lower than top half will end a disappointing season. Let's do it. Let's go for Europe. Europa League, here we come. Iceland away on a Thursday night. That's what we're after. That's the dream. That is the dream. But in all seriousness, top half at the very minimum. And why not? Why can't little old Watford reach Europe at the end of this season? Love it. And very quickly then, Boxing Day, Watford Chelsea. Some score predictions, please. 2-1. Last minute winner. 3-1. Well, thank you very much. Chaps, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you throughout 2018. You're not here next Sunday. We've given you a week off. We shall see you in the new year. And we wish you all the best. Have a good Christmas, guys. Happy New Year. Cheers, Jake.